Hello and welcome. My name is Olivier Bakoyogo Kumbadimo from the Democratic Republic of Congo, my GitHub under the username Oliverson2, and my edX username is Olivier Bakoyogo, and I'm excited to present my final project for the CS50 Introduction to Cybersecurity course. Today's presentation is based on a critical and timely topic. Cybercriminals exploit open-source tools to compromise financial institutions across Africa. This activity has been observed since at least July 2023, and it highlights a growing threat within the African financial sector, one that leverages freely available open-source tools for malicious purposes. The campaign is currently being tracked by Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 under the moniker CL50 Their research sheds light on how threat actors are adapting and evolving to bypass traditional security measures by abusing open frameworks, often overlooked in standard defense strategies. Although I picked this topic because I myself live in Africa, and this topic highlighted some of the tactic and technique discussed in the course by the Professor David J. Malan, my research dives deeper into this campaign's attack techniques, its impact on banking infrastructure, and the importance of enhancing threat detection and incident response across African institutions. This video is recorded on August 1st, 2025.
Today, we're digging into a new kind of cyber heist. This is a story about a really sophisticated attack that's not using some secret, high-tech weapon. Nope, they're using everyday tools that anyone could find online. And their target? Africa's entire financial sector. So here's the deal. Since at least July of 2023, a really stealthy group has been systematically working its way into banks and financial organizations all across the continent. They're quiet, they're smart, and they are getting deep inside these networks.
And that's the million-dollar question, right? It's not just what they're doing, but why. Are they trying to drain accounts, steal data, or is it something else entirely? We're going to piece together the clues and figure it out.
Okay, first things first. Let's put a name to this digital ghost and crack open the case file that security researchers have been putting together.
All right, so the researchers have given this threat a tracker name, CL-CRI-1014. That CL stands for cluster, which just means it's a group of related attacks. And CRI tells us the motivation is criminal. The team at Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 has been on their tails since mid-2023, and they've noticed a really clear pattern, all aimed directly at Africa's financial industry.
So what's the criminal motivation? Are they just emptying bank vaults? Well, it turns out their game is a bit more subtle than that, and maybe even more profitable. Think of it this way. They aren't the ones who robbed the bank. They're the ones who sell the blueprints and the keys to get inside.
These attackers are what the cybersecurity world calls initial access brokers, or IABs. Their whole business model, their entire game, is just doing the hard part, getting past security and inside a network. Once they have a solid foothold, they just package up that access and sell it on the dark web to the highest bidder. And that bidder could be a ransomware gang, a data thief, you name it. They're basically the suppliers for the whole criminal underworld.
So how do they actually pull it off without getting caught? Well, as researchers Tom Factorwin and Guy Levy put it, their main strategy is all about disguise. They don't waste time building scary new malware. Instead, they make their malicious tools look and act just like the normal, legitimate software you'd expect to see on any computer. It's a pretty brilliant move.
So if they aren't building their own tools, what exactly is in their digital toolkit? Well, the answer is what makes this whole thing so interesting. It's pretty much all open-source software.
Their entire arsenal is built from tools that are publicly available. You've got POSH-C2, which is a legitimate tool for security professionals. There's Chisel, which helps tunnel past firewalls. And then you have things like Classroom Spy and Mesh Central, which are actually designed for remote IT help. In the wrong hands, though, these helpful tools become the perfect weapons for taking over computers from anywhere in the world.
And they use these tools in a very clear step-by-step process. Now, we still don't know exactly how they get that initial foothold. But once they're in, the path is pretty predictable. They deploy agents like Mesh Central to get control of one machine. Then they use Chisel to open a secret tunnel out past the firewalls. And finally, they push their main control tool, POSH-C2, through that tunnel to get persistent command over the entire network.
Of course, having the tools is one thing,
But keeping them hidden from security software and eagle-eyed IT admins, that's the real trick. And this, right here, is where these attackers are true masters of disguise. Their technique is so simple, but it's incredibly effective. They take their main command and control tool, POSH-C2, and they just wrap it up to look like something completely harmless, something you'd expect to see. An employee might see an icon for Microsoft Teams, or maybe even a security tool from Palo Alto Networks or VMware, and they wouldn't think twice. But hiding behind that familiar icon is the attacker's payload. Getting in is only half the battle. They need to stay in. To make sure their access survives a simple computer restart, they use a few clever tricks. They might set up their tool to run as a persistent background service, or just drop a shortcut into the startup folder so it launches every time you log in. Or, and this one is really bold, they create a scheduled task and name it something like Palo Alto Cortex Services, using the name of a security product to hide their own malicious one. Now, it's really important to realize that this attack isn't happening in a vacuum. To understand the real threat here, we have to look at the bigger picture of cybercrime that's targeting this region.
If you look at the timeline, a pattern starts to emerge. Back in 2022, there was another campaign called Dangerous Savannah. And guess what? It was doing something very similar, using POSH-C2 to hit financial firms in West Africa. The fact that Clipper RI-114 showed up a year later suggests this isn't just a one-time thing. It's an established playbook that's being reused and refined.
And the threat landscape is just incredibly diverse right now. At the exact same time our access brokers are operating in Africa, a totally different group called Direwolf has popped up on the global stage. But where CLCRI-1104 uses open source tools to sell access, Direwolf has a completely different goal, deploying its own custom-built ransomware. It just shows you how many different criminal business models are running at the same time. So all of this brings us to a final, really critical question. The tools that this group, CLCRI-1014, are using, they aren't inherently malicious. They're legitimate pieces of software. The danger comes from the intent. It shows that today, the biggest threat isn't always some brand new secret virus. It can be a clever criminal using everyday things in a malicious way. It's a powerful reminder that security isn't just about blocking bad software. It's about understanding how good software can be turned against us.